Good day. I'm Bill Hodges, a volunteer here in Sun City Center, Florida, a town that's actually built on volunteerism. I've had the pleasure to talk with each of our board of directors candidates for the Sun City Center Community Association. All 8 of the candidates have volunteered to participate, and the questions I will ask have been given to them in advance. There were more questions than the 10-minute time limit would allow, so candidates have chosen the questions most important to them. Thank you for listening in with us, and we've had a few technical difficulties, but overlook those and concentrate on what the folks have to say. Thank you for being with us. As I said in the beginning, I'm Bill Hodges, and my guest for this Sun City Center Community Association board candidate interview is Gary Bratt. Gary, wonderful to have you on the show.
Well, thanks for having me, Bill.
You're running for a 3-year term.
Yes, sir.
You know,
it's
very exciting to have so many people wanting to participate in our elections. So many of our community associations around the country have to browbeat people to take a job. And here we've got people competing, which I think is great.
Yes, I do too. I'm excited. I mean, even in the past years here, we've been here a while, and even in the past years, they've had a hard time getting people to volunteer for the board, and I'm glad to see it too.
Tell me a little bit about you and your lovely wife. Where did you come from before you moved to Sun City Center?
Well, my wife, Virginia, and I, we were both born and raised in Southeast Michigan, about 20 miles north of the Detroit area.
20 miles north, up there, almost to Lake St. Clair, or along St. Clair.
Well, yeah, it's along Lake St. Clair. That is correct. Yeah, it's a pretty area. The water's nice. We were fortunate to be able to grow up in that area.
What drew you to Sun City Center?
Well, when we decided to do our second retirement, we had been looking all over the country and kind of keyed in. Virginia really loves the water, and we both like the Gulf Coast. So we kind of keyed in on anywhere from the Gulf Coast to the Atlantic. And after looking at many, many communities, just Sun City attracted us.
Did you hear about us from a magazine ad or from something the builder or somebody you knew down here?
Well, actually, there were 2 communities here. There was the Del Webb community over in Apollo Beach. We actually stayed in that community, and we also looked at Valencia Lakes at the time, which was available, and then we just happened to run into Sun City Center.
That's one of the things that I guess the board has to look at constantly is, since we don't have a builder, we've got to look for ways to promote the city.
Correct. I agree. And, there's a potential for national magazines or internet or, something. We need to sit down and probably draw a plan to attract new residents to our community.
It's kind of nice speaking with you. Most of the other people I've talked about have had a friend, a relative, someone that lived here, which drew them in, but you came in a different direction.
Correct. Yeah. Not even knowing it existed.
Well, we were the same way. We lived in Apollo Beach, and we started coming over here and went to the dance clubs and said, we need to be part of this. So we moved over. What did you do in real life before you retired?
Well, I actually retired twice. In my first career, I was in the mortgage banking industry.
Oh.
I was in the industry for about 25 years. I started out as a loan officer, then worked my way up to branch manager, and until eventually becoming the vice president of national sales, which at that time I had approximately 100 loan officers, 200 internal staff, and we were doing about $750 million a year in annual sales.
My goodness, what bank was that with?
Well, it was with a mortgage bank, and at the time it was called MCA, Mortgage Corporation of America. And they are no longer, they've been bought out since, but that's who I work with.
So you have a strong financial background.
Yes, sir. Yes.
This community has always been I don't want to say anti, but probably that's as good a word as any, to going into debt for increases and buildings and things of that nature. How do you feel about that?
Well, I understand the mindset. And again, it is the community decision as everything has to be voted upon. But I think we should possibly analyze this to update our community because our community definitely needs updating. I know they're doing a new swimming pool area and a new activities building, but there are also other buildings across on the south side of Cherry Hill Lanes where the arts and crafts are. Those buildings need to be replaced and modernized also. And they're getting to the point where they're doing a lot of maintenance on them. And to me, it's just throwing bad money after, or good money after bad.
Well,
So,
that's very true. Upkeep can become a real problem.
correct. So, I think we should maybe look at something, especially with interest rates being at their historic low levels. I think it's possibly something we could look at and present to the community, and maybe if we can show them how this can work to our benefit, that could be a possibility.
Yeah, I think interest rates are down there in the 1.6, 1.7 range. It's
Well, I know
amazing.
home mortgage rates are right now, they're in about 2.5, 2.75, I believe. Of course, commercial money would be a little more expensive.
Wow. When you look at it, it really is something that most of us have never faced along the way. It's interesting to have someone with your financial background.
Thank you. Yes. And I think it could be an asset for possibly looking into the future.
If you were serving on the board, what are some of the things that you would like to see as a board member?
Well, it's always stuck in my craw since we moved here. It was one of the deterrents to us, to the community, is my number one priority would be repairing these roads. Our roads are in such terrible condition. And you have very expensive homes that have roads that look like they were in Beirut. I mean, it's just terrible. We live on New Bedford Drive. I go down New Bedford Drive and my eyes are shaking and I don't know what it's doing to my golf cart.
Realizing that the board has no control over the roads, what you're proposing is to spend more time working with the county to get things done.
Yes. I think we should be able to work with the county. And again, here in Sun City Center, we have approximately 11,500 residents. We pay a lot of tax dollars.
And we
Don't
vote.
receive, and we vote and don't receive a lot in return. I think we should be putting maybe, if nice talks don't go, well, sometimes you can't be so nice, maybe put some political pressure.
Well, our very good friend Sam Sudman has worked very hard with the county and certainly would be an ally with you, talking with them on any kind of a project. Are there any other things you'd like to see with the board?
Yeah, the other thing I'd like to do is, again, we touched on a little bit earlier, the potential of going into a phase 2 of the updating, which would be the buildings on the south side of Cherry Hill. Again, attracting people. We have all these new communities coming in, and some of our buildings they're looking tired. They need to be updated, and we need to have an attractiveness. Maybe do some more landscaping. We just need to spruce the place up.
That you're speaking of the club rooms
Well,
around the pool.
outside landscaping, around the buildings. I mean, we could use a little bit of that, a little more signage. I mean, there's several things that could be done, but the major expense would be the update of the buildings.
We talked a little bit about attracting new residents, but are there some specific things that you might do or propose to attract new residents from around the country?
Well, again, I think we should look into some type of possible national advertising, maybe set up some type of website or link into different websites. And so, we could form something that would be helpful or have ideas, a range of ideas in order to accomplish this.
I see a committee made up of the people out here. I think that wouldn't be a bad idea at all. Gary, we've got about a minute. Is there something I haven't asked you that you feel strongly about or something you'd like to share with the voters?
Well, I'd like to thank you, Bill. I understand that you're also a volunteer, and On behalf of myself and the other candidates, thank you for setting this up and giving us an opportunity to speak to the members, which I think is important. And secondly, I would like to let the community know that if elected, I will give them 100% of my effort. And I've been involved in the community as far as on my homeowners association. I've been a captain of the security patrol, and I was on the softball club board for 5 years, 1 year as president, 1 year as past president. I've been involved with Fun Fest. I've been involved with High Neighbor. So I've tried to be involved in the community, and this is just my next step. So I would appreciate if they would give me an opportunity.
Well, thank you so much for your time and your lovely wife helping to get this set up. I appreciate all the things she's done. My guest today on this portion of the Candidates Forum has been Gary Bratt. Gary has been a longtime resident of Sun City Center, and I appreciate your coming on the program, Gary. And we'll have the next candidate coming up very shortly.
Thank you, Bill.
As I said in the beginning, I'm Bill Hodges, and my guest for this SCCCA board candidate interview is Dave Burkett. Dave, wonderful to have you on with us.
Thank you, Bill. Pleasure to be with you.
I asked a series of questions, and each candidate was allowed to decide which candidate or which question they'd like to answer. And so the questions may be different for each candidate, but the responsibility to stay within 10 minutes is yours.
Okay.
So we'll start with the first one here. Where did you come from? What is your background before coming to Sun City Center?
Where did I come from? I was born and raised in Boston. And after that, moved 10 times around the country and came here from the Jersey Shore. It was our last house before moving down to Sun City Center. And been here 14 years and enjoyed every moment of it.
What made you decide to come to Sun City Center?
Actually, my mother-in-law was down here, and she was living in Sun City Center. We lived in Tampa from 83 to 93, so I knew Sun City Center fairly well. Never been here, but I knew where it was. And she was living here, and she was getting up in years, so we decided to come down, my wife and I, and help take care of her, which we did, and bought a house in '06. And like I say, been here 14 years ever since.
Let's talk a little bit about your business background. What do you bring from your business background, and what is it that would be valuable to the people of Sun City Center to have you sitting on the Community Association board?
Okay. I guess first my business background, done a number of things, but the bulk of my career was spent with a small medical company up in New Jersey that you may not have heard of, Johnson & Johnson. And,
yeah. Very, 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 very familiar with Johnson & Johnson.
Yes, so am I. I spent 25 years with them, and started off as a sales rep with them in Boston, and left 25 years later as vice president of sales and marketing for one of their companies.
Couldn't find any other job, huh? Had to stay with them?
I couldn't find any other job. And like I say, we moved 10 times, so I really couldn't hold on to a job either. So
you have a strong sales background. Do you think that will help us here in Sun City Center?
I think a strong sales background helps you, and no matter what you do. Nothing in this world starts without a sale. You've got to have a sale first for anything to happen. And, absolutely, when we talk about different things at the board level, and I've been on the board now for 4 years, treasurer for the past 2, we go back and forth on a lot of things, and a lot of opinions go back and forth. And if you want to, make a cogent point, you're trying to sell it. And that's just part of the sales game. So yes, to answer your question, I think a sales background is eminently important for no matter what you do in this world.
Since you mentioned the current board, what are the things that you like best about what the current board is doing, and what would you hope to see in the future?
Well, I'll tell you, over the years, I've been fortunate to be on a number of boards, and the 4 years I've been on this one, our board, it functions as well as any board that I've been involved with. It's very cohesive. The personalities meld together very nicely. Do we have different opinions? Of course we have different opinions. We talk them out. We come to one resolution. As with all boards, once you come to a resolution, even though you might not agree with it, you support it. And that's what we do. But we have very lively discussions. And like I say, everybody contributes, puts their 2 cents in. And at the end of the day, we come up with a path to go forward. And that's what we do. So, but for the past 4 years, it's worked very, very nicely.
Well, certainly Sam Sudman put his oar in the water for quite some time and did a great job. And
Absolutely.
Sullivan coming along behind him, it appears everything has been a fairly good transition from the two.
It has, yeah. You know, the first president when I got involved was John Looper, and then you're right, then came Sam, and then Bob Sullivan now. But the transition has been very smooth with no problems whatsoever. I don't think we missed a beat. There are different personalities, all 3 of them, obviously, but we still function very well. We still look for the most interesting and the most important issues that come forward, and those are the ones we work on.
Let's look a little bit at long-range planning. What do you see for the community? This is an interesting community, at least I'm seeing it as such. I know a number of people who are moving over from Valencia Lakes to live here because they like what we have. And that's, you know, a significant difference between Valencia Lakes and our community, especially it's brand new and ours isn't. What do you see for our community?
Well, you know, yeah, you're right. Ours has been around for a lot longer than Valencia Lakes. I think for the dollar involved in living in Sun City Center, there is no better bargain out there. You know, you're paying $6,000 a year in dues in Valencia Lakes. And right now, you're paying a little over $300 in dues right here. And if you look at the activities, the clubs, the functions that you can avail yourself of, you've got a world-class gym about 200 yards behind me here, and you pay $400 or $500 a year to join a world-class gym, just the gym. And you're getting 143 clubs here you can take your pick of. The amenities here are just unbelievable. Do we have some challenges going forward? Absolutely. I think you mentioned a second ago the long-range plan, and we're reaching the point right now where we're going to breathe some life into the long-range plan. We've been on the long-range planning for 2 years now. Doug Seipel's done a fantastic job getting that up. We've had a good crew that's been involved with it. And right now, we're going to start to make it come to life. And we have the plans for the new building. We have the resort-style pool, which we're looking at. And so all the drawings now started to come in. So it's going to be an exciting time. It's going to be a lot of new things for the people to explore, a lot of new things for them to do. Because we are an old community, no doubt about it. But that doesn't mean we have to think old. We have to think young. If we're going to attract the 55-year-old retiree, the 60-year-old retiree, do we have one of those beautiful entranceways like you go down to Naples and Fort Myers where they have trees and what have you? No, we don't have that. But if you look beyond that, you look for the people that reside here, if you look at all the things you can do, if you look for the emergency squad to take care of people, it's just loaded with things that people that they know about, they love, and that's the thing we have to continue to grow.
How will we grow? We've lost our builder now. They're not doing any advertising outside of our area for us. So it's up to us now. With your sales background, how are we going to promote the community?
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. We talked about that at the board meeting this morning. And in my mind, what sells this community is word of mouth. If you look at the people coming in here, they didn't read about it in some glossy magazine. They didn't see it on TV. They didn't see it on a billboard out on 75. It's word of mouth that brings us in here. And, you know, they had a mother-in-law here, they had a father here, they had a sister here, whatever. And the word just got around that this is a great place to live. So how do we keep growing it? The way we keep growing it is to have adding new functions to it, adding new things so to keep it up to date. That in turn will translate into the word of mouth that gets out there. But, you know, should we do advertising in some of these magazines and what have you? It really is not going to do too much good, you know, for the dollar spent. And when I say word of mouth, it really is word of mouth that gets people in here. And that will continue in the future too. We're turning over homes now. We're going to have almost 60 homes transferred in the month of October. I mean, we're the
In
real
a
estate here.
recession.
The real estate here is red hot right now, and we're bringing in new people and new personalities and younger people. So we're in an upswing right now. Everything looks good.
Dave Burkett, we've got about a minute left. Is there something I haven't asked that you'd like to talk to the voters about?
No, I think, we've covered many things in just 10 minutes here. This is a great place to live. It really is. And we're the care holders of it on the board. We have to make sure we handle it properly. I think we are doing a good job with it. Everything we talk about on the board is for the betterment of the residents. Everything we talk about. And you couple that with a long-range plan and a vision into the future. And that's exactly what we need. And I think the board right now is on top of it. I think we're doing a good job with it. That's why I can only run for one more year. Like I said, I've been here for 4. So I'm excited about getting involved in this long-range plan. I think we have our arms around what needs to be done. We know the direction it has to go. And I think the whole community is in great shape right now.
Well, my guest on this portion of the board interviews has been Dave Burkett, running for a 1-year term on the board of directors. Dave, thank you for being with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back with the next Sun City Center Community Association board candidate.
Thank you, Bill.
As I said in the beginning, I am Bill Hodges, and my guest for this Sun City Center Community Association board candidate interview is Jim Collins. Jim, so happy to have you with us.
Glad to be here, Bill.
Thank you so much for taking your time to do this, and even more to put yourself at the service to the members of our community association.
Happy to do it. Happy to do it.
We're a pretty good size. We're actually a small city with 11,000 members plus.
That is a lot of people, yeah.
Jim, where do you come from? What's your background as far as where you lived before you came here?
Well, my wife and I moved to Florida from Fort McCoy, Wisconsin. I was in the military and retired up there. And it was a little too chilly in Wisconsin in the winter. So we decided to find something. Yeah. So that's where we came from when we first came to Florida.
How did you find Sun City Center? That's an important question for a lot of us.
It's interesting. My wife and I owned apartment buildings. That's what we did for a living. We managed them, renovated them. And my wife one day asked me, "Are you just going to keep working till you drop dead? How about a retirement?" So we started looking around and we found Sun City Center online, as well as other retirement communities. And then we happened to see an ad in the paper for a house for sale for here. So we were an hour and a half away, but we drove down. We were peeking in the windows because the place was vacant. It wasn't a house that we wanted. Yeah. It wasn't a house we wanted, but the realtor lived next door, and he took us on a little tour of the complex, the pool and the gym, and we peeked in the Sawdust Engineers windows, and we were really impressed. There's a lot that offers things for active seniors to do. So we're very impressed.
Kind of interested, you said you were retired military or you served?
Yes, I was
retired military?
I retired, right, yeah.
How many years were you in the military?
Well, a total of 22. I had 18 active. They had a thing called a reduction in force. I was a combat arms officer, and they weren't going to fight the Russians anymore, so they decided either you could take a retirement early, or you could run the risk of not getting retirement at all until you reach age 60. So I decided just to retire. So,
what do you think that your previous military experience and your experience at rehabbing homes has that will be important to the members of our community as you serve on the board?
Well, I had a lot of leadership positions. I was an battery executive officer. My last assignment was commandant of the headquarters company at the Army Reserve Training Center in Fort McCoy, and there were about 90 people in our company. officers and enlisted, all senior enlisted and officers. That was a really good assignment. I really enjoyed that. Hard work when it comes to owning apartments. Like I said, we did all the renovations. My wife is just a really, really hard worker.
My experience with keeping rental going was 1 year with the house we now lived in. And I said, I'll never do that again. You're a better man than I, McGee, when you do something like that.
Yeah.
What do you see for long range for Sun City Center?
Well, we have really a gem of a community here. It's small, intimate. It has a lot to offer for retiring seniors. And my experience was if you just know that it's here and what it has to offer, that's really the attraction for our community.
I noticed recently, I talked to a couple of people actually who lived over in Valencia Lakes, a wonderful community, a beautiful community.
I played softball over there. Yeah.
They saw what we have and they moved over here.
Yeah.
So that has to say something for a community that's 60 years old against a brand new one. There's something here.
Yes, there is. It's a friendly community. Yeah.
How would you present this community to the wide world? What do you think that we're going to have to do now we don't have a builder that's advertising it? What are we going to have to do in order to draw new people into our community?
Well, I think we have a natural attraction. If seniors are going to start looking for where they want to retire totally, and most seniors, if they're healthy, they're active, and they're going to want to look at things to do. And we have so much to do here. We have over 110 clubs. If you're bored here,
it's your
fault.
Without a doubt, it is a fabulous community. In fact, many people who come in here for the first time join too many clubs and get burned out right away. And I tell them, join one, see what it is, go to the next one.
Yep.
What clubs have you joined when you've been here in Sun City?
Well, I got my foot in the door of the Sawdust Engineers, and I spent a lot of time in the gym. I'm kind of a gym rat. And then I discovered softball, and I fell in love with softball. I played it 30 years prior, but now I'm a junkie. I'm at the field every day, and I think it's kept me healthy, personally.
I was a referee for 17 years, and I'll never walk in another softball field as long as I live. But it is neat. You see people in their 80s and even 90s out there doing something.
It is amazing. I have a team right now I'm the manager of, and we have two 80-year-olds, and they can still smack the ball.
What do you see as the future for this community?
Well, the Long Range Planning Committee is, as you know, is planning a new pool complex and buildings. The Rollins Theaters will be torn down once we get something to replace it built, and that being replaced. So I see we're a pretty vibrant community, and I think we're very attractive to any retiring couple.
It's an important thing, certainly, to be able to present this community. And I think one of the things that people like about the community is we don't have any debt. How do you feel about debt?
You know, at our age, we shouldn't be taking on debt. I had to take on debt when I bought apartment buildings, but there's a risk with debt. For example, we lived through the 2009 financial crisis where we couldn't find quality renters. And fortunately, we were fiscally responsible. We had money set aside, and we survived it. So I'm really against debt unless it's absolutely required.
I think that's probably the way most of our community feels, but there are some people who maybe feel a little bit differently on getting things, but it's a beautiful community. Tell me, as far as this community is concerned, Are there any specific issues that you, if you were on the board, would like to have an opportunity to present?
Well, I think I like to see the board be more transparent. Right now, they meet at certain workshops and committees, and the CA membership cannot attend those. And I don't think that's particularly kosher. I think all the meetings and all the committee get-togethers should be open to the CA members.
So you'd like to see more opportunity for the members to be able to actually sit in on those meetings?
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's not really a bad thing. If we can get people like yourself, I mean, that's what I started out with saying, we've got 8 people running for the slots. That's wonderful. Right. That shows a healthy community that people care about. Mm-hmm. Is there one last thing that you'd like to share with our audience in order to let them know you just a little better, or something you'd like to say to them?
Well, you know, the questions you provided me before this interview, I was reading them over, and it dawned on me that I've been a hard worker my entire life. I had a paper route as a kid. I was a soda jerk. All through college, I worked part-time. I worked summers at track labor at New Haven Railroad. So I've worked hard all my life, and I'd like to take that work ethic with me to the board and work hard for this community.
Well, I can tell you there's a whole lot of us that followed that same thing, starting out as paper boy and then a box boy and moving on up. I appreciate your being with us. My guest today on the CA board candidates interview has been Jim Collins, running for a 3-year term. And Jim, we wish you the best of luck.
Bill, thank you for these interviews.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, I am Bill Hodges, and I said in the beginning, this is the interviews for the Sun City Center Community Association Board. Today, I have Kathy Corrin with me. Kathy, pleased to have you here.
Oh, good to be here.
The whole idea behind this is just to give people a little opportunity to see who Kathy is, where she came from, and some of the ideas that she might have. And so let's start out with, you were born at an early age, but where did you come from to Sun City Center?
From Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, born and raised.
I met Mean Joe Green once, and he wasn't mean at all. Nice guy. So what brought you to Sun City Center? How did you manage to find us?
It was on a surprise trip, a trip, my first trip to Florida on the motorcycle. But
on the motorcycle.
On the motorcycle. And we went all the way down to Key West. And I just fell in love with Sarasota, the general area. And so we had been snowbirds for a couple of months, 2 years, at Sun and Fun in Sarasota. And so every time we come down in the fall, and we were going to stay down for a while, I started checking all the places around the area that I felt this is where I want to retire. Mm-hmm. So we've been through all the ones in Bradenton. We've been down to the ones in Sarasota. We had been everywhere. And the last thing on the one time before we left is we took a drive through again before we left to go back down to Sarasota. And voice is gone. But went down there, and then after we drove around, we called the real estate. And we want to buy this house.
Love at first sight.
I called my friend back in, at this time, we were living in, we had gone to the beach house in Emerald Isle, and I called my girlfriend and said, Kathy, I did this again. I sold a house before I bought a house before it was,
Well, you did good.
yeah.
This is a great community. I love it here. And that's the way a lot of people, my wife volunteers at the information center. And so many people travel around, look at places, they get here and they can't believe what's here. What did you do in your life before you came to Sun City Center? Besides, by the way, were you driving the motorcycle or riding on it?
I was driving it.
Oh, so you're a biker mom, huh?
Yeah, I retired it a couple of years ago. The knees do not take holding up in traffic around here.
So what did you do in life before you retired to this area?
Well, since I took all business courses from high school, when I got married the year after I graduated, he was in the Coast Guard, so we traveled around some.
Oh.
So I had done a business course, so I got various jobs in business, credit corporations, United States Ski Association in Traverse City, Michigan. And I worked for a college professor who got a grant to teach 7 area high schools, like senior classes, to learn to work on a computer. We had the big IBM ones. And so he would have a class with them like every day, except for one day he would do it. It was remote control then, but one day he brought them all in to the computers and all the other things. And that's how he got them. It was interesting.
I think it's interesting that you were a military spouse and traveled around the country. I find
didn't
that
get much farther than Elizabeth City, North Carolina, Traverse City.
But military spouses bring a whole different view, a different perspective to our community. And I'm so delighted we have about 2,000 military here in the community. Yeah. And it's so much that their wives bring such a nice perspective of friendship and moving. And I think that maybe is part of what keeps this community together, is that you have always had to make friends with new people, correct?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of like that anyway, so, but yeah, I like meeting people, more people, whatever.
Now, while you've been here, what kind of things have you done? What kind of groups or clubs have you belonged to?
Well, when I moved here, I decided at one point I had gone to nursing school. So I had decided I was going to get my license for Florida.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So got that, and since we're a volunteer community,
sure,
wanted.
That's why it works.
Do that, yeah. That's why it works here. So I joined. Well, the first thing we did, we joined the security patrol. That was the first thing. That was for about 3 years, I think. And then line dancing, because I like line dancing. And we had, my husband plays volleyball 3 times a week, sometimes 4. But, and I did the women's chorus. I work at the information center, which I really like. I'm sure like your wife. And give the right information to the people who want to look at the houses. And yeah, but
as the realtors, they try sometimes, but they have a vested interest, where the information center really is, I think, an excellent thing for people to go and look into.
Well, the thing too, besides that, we get residents that come in wanting information. So if it's something that's not necessarily here and there, put my hands up.
You also volunteered with the radio station, did you not?
Yes, I did 3 or 4 years. Yes, you saw me. I was sort of the script writer for the club news,
Uh-huh.
And I also went around to all the clubs to get the news.
And that gave you a feeling for the news, correct? I mean, at least for the clubs, I should say.
Well, good. The only thing was I was not going to be on the radio reading this.
What do you think you bring to the board if you're sitting on that board?
Well, I think it gives a little bit different viewpoint. Sun City Center has, from what I understand, more women than men in this, but we don't have a whole lot that are involved in that. And we need to get more of the people using the facilities. I mean, I know I don't expect one of our 100-year-old residents to go to the fitness center, but yeah, we need to do that. We need to get some new people coming in to volunteer.
Listen, we've got about a minute to go. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you'd like to share quickly?
No, I keep, and if you go to the information center and I'm working there and it's new people come in, I always tell them, this is like my own small town, has everything here. I said, it's like living in the bubble.
An oasis.
You don't have to leave here for almost everything there is. Except I worked with Roz and she says, yeah, except big furniture and really fancy clothes.
Roz is quite a lady.
Yes, she is. But I want people to realize that I am open for somebody, you know, has a problem or wants to ask something. If I don't know the answer, I will go look for it and get back to you. I'm a new person coming in as far as the board. So, like I said, I think having the different viewpoints would work out.
Well, that's an extremely good thing. When you talk about diversity, I think that's excellent. Our guest today has been Kathy Corrin. She's running for a 3-year term on the Sun City Center Community Association Board. Kathy, thank you so much for putting yourself up and putting yourself to service for the community.
You're welcome, Bill. You put up with a lot more from me than with this interview.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for being with us for these board interviews. Hi, I'm Bill Hodges, and this is a series of interviews for the Sun City Center Community Association Board of Directors. And the candidate I had with me now is Ken Bauer. Ken, glad to have you on the show.
Happy to be with you, Bill.
Ken, let's talk a little bit about your history. Where did you come from before you came to Sun City? Maybe how did you get here?
Okay, well, we came to Sun City Center from Centralia, Illinois, a small town in southern Illinois. Prior to us moving here to Sun City Center 6 years ago, we were full-time RVers for 12 years.
Oh, really?
And we did our, yes, and we did our snowbirding at Hawaiian Isles RV Resort on Cockroach Road in Ruskin. So we were very familiar with this area before we actually moved in.
You know, I've always thought that RVing would have been a lot of fun. I guess it's kind of gone by me by now, but even now in this coronavirus thing, you've had a chance to see so many different areas and different people.
Yes, we have. It was a very, very enjoyable part of our life. It actually, we stopped RVing 2 years before our planned purchase of a home in Sun City Center because the home of our dreams became available.
And there are a lot of wonderful homes here in Sun City Center, just about every price range. It's really a fabulous area.
Yes, there certainly are. We have homes all the way from $60,000, $70,000 to $450,000 available. Unfortunately, from what I read about from the real estate industry is there's actually a shortage of homes on the market in Southern Center.
One of the lowest periods of time as far as people putting their home up because nobody wants to leave here.
I don't blame them.
Most of the people leave here and go out feet first.
Yes, that's for sure. And in addition to the time we spent, Laura and I have been associate members of the First Baptist Church of Ruskin for 18 years.
Oh my goodness. Listen, what was your background in business or industry or where you spent the time making the money to be able to go RVing?
Well, I basically my business life began in the purchase and ownership of 2 Radio Shack franchise stores there in Southern Illinois.
Really? So you got into technology early?
Yes. Well, yeah, a little bit. Yes, we did. I got into technology real early because at the age of 14, I got my amateur radio license.
Yeah, I noticed your email is actually your amateur license call sign.
Yes, that is correct. And after the successful operation of my Radio Shack stores, and I sold them back to the Radio Shack headquarters company, I obtained my real estate license with a GRI designation. So I was able to learn a lot about the real estate industry, the needs of the various areas that had to have to be able to entice people to come and live in our area.
Well, I think that's an important facet that we need to talk a little bit about. We've lost our builder. So now with our 5,000 plus homes, we really need to have something that brings people to Sun City Center. What do you think of the prime drive that brings people in here?
Well, first of all, Bill, this is what we're looking at. This was an ad that was in Sunday's paper about Valencia Lakes. We're going to have to make sure that our board has the website for Sun City Center to be updated and continually updated, and to show the amenities that our organization has, and also that our information center continues to have the great volunteers that we have to be able to answer the questions of people who might call in or come to visit in Sun City Center.
Interesting you should mention Valencia Lakes, because in the last 2 weeks, I've talked to 2 people who have moved here from Valencia Lakes. They'd bought their house over there, had been a part of that wonderful community over there, and they looked over here and said, my goodness, look at all the stuff we could do if we were here. So maybe the advertising for Valencia Lakes is going to draw people our way.
Well, let's hope so. The clubs, I think, have a great deal to do with the draw to Sun City Center. And I certainly hope that our board will continue to give full support to each and every club that we have.
We came here as a result of the dance clubs. We lived in Apollo Beach and we started dancing, so we come over here.
Okay. Sounds interesting.
What clubs do you belong to?
I belong to the Sun City Center Amateur Radio Club. I belong to the Men's Club. I belong to the History Society of Sun City Center, and I belong to the Computer Club.
That's a pretty busy schedule all by itself.
Yeah, going back in my years in Centralia, Illinois, I was involved in many organizations that required volunteership. At one time, I was president and also treasurer of the Centralia chapter of the American Red Cross. I was on of the Centralia Area History Museum. I also was elected director of the Centralia, Centralia Regional Library District. And during that period of time when I was on the board, we were working on an expansion of the library. In addition, I was a director of the Texaco State Bank in Texaco, Illinois.
You know, I think you're probably the poster child for the old statement, if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person.
Well, I love my hometown of Centralia. I love my town now of Sun City Center.
What do you see going forward for Sun City Center? What do we need to do to keep ourselves moving in the right direction?
Well, I think that we have to look at what we're doing with the long-range planning project that is going on now to get people to move to Sun City Center, or to get people to stay in Sun City Center if they're considering to moving. I just talked to one lady the other day. We had a yard sale over the weekend, and she was looking to move from Sun City Center. She had lived here for 10 years. She had no friends. Now, I don't know why, but she was getting ready to leave. We've got to continue to furnish the amenities that the retired people want. And I think that going forward, the board and their long-term building project is one of the ways to go.
We're down to about a minute. Are there some things I haven't asked you that you'd like to quickly cover?
Yes, I'd like to say that for the last 3.5 years that I have been attending the Monday morning workshops, the Wednesday morning board meetings. I have been attending the membership meetings, and this was to learn more of the operation of the board and the issues that come before the board. I am ready to represent all of the residents of Sun City Center, to listen to both sides if there is an issue that has both sides, and I simply ask everyone for your vote.
Well, my guest today on the candidate interviews for the Sun City Center Community Association Board of Directors has been Ken Bauer. And Ken, you've done a great job. Thank you so much for offering your services to the community. And we'll talk to you again very soon.
Thank you very much, Bill. I appreciate the time.
As I said in the beginning, I'm Bill Hodges, and my guest for this Sun City Center Community Association board candidate is Kim Rausch. Kim, pleased to have you on the show with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's exciting to have so many people wanting to be a part of the leadership of this great community. So many have to have somebody say, well, there's no work to it, just take it in name only. But here, there's people actually want it.
Yes, there's a lot of people. In fact, there's 6 of us this time.
For a 3-year term.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's wonderful. Give us a little background. Where did you come from to live here in Sun City?
Well, my husband and I were originally from Ohio, and we lived in Westerville, Ohio, which is right by Columbus. And we came down here in 2011. We actually, before we retired, 5 years before that, we would visit communities in Florida. We would take vacations and visit at least 2 to 3 communities. And we landed in Sun City Center twice. So we knew this was the place. It was right next to Tampa. We're very sports oriented.
Oh,
so,
okay.
So Tampa had a lot of sports. They had football and baseball, and that's what we enjoy. And also the arts. So we have a place to go, and it wasn't that far away from Sun City Center.
I think it's really nice here because we have a beautiful small town atmosphere, but all the big town events.
Exactly. And you're not in a lot of traffic. Now, of course, Sun City is built up now, but I mean, there's still not a lot of traffic compared to where we came from. So
what did you do in real life before you came here? What was your business background, education?
I have an associate's degree in computer science, and I worked for the Department of Taxation for 30 years in Ohio. I was an administrative officer and over 3 departments. I helped get out the refunds. We took in all the checks from the whole state. So we processed all those. So it was very exciting. I changed positions in the 30 years, probably 10 times, and ended up as an administrative officer. So I really enjoyed it there, and it kept me busy. So, but and then, you know, I was as far as volunteering, I was a Girl Scout leader for several years, and I was a member of the organization until I came down to Florida. I truly embrace their organization, and they have a great organization, and I really live and truly believe in that and run my life that way. So I was also when I came down here, as far as volunteering, I was on the volleyball board. I was secretary of that. The softball board, secretary of that one. And I helped with the website for 4 years. And then I'm also on the Calusa Women's CWGA 18 board as the president of that. Currently, I have 1 more month of that.
And now you want something else to do, right?
Yes. Well, and I keep myself busy. So I'm on Calusa Golf and Country Club board of directors as a membership director. So we're bringing in members, and it's surprising to me how many members are coming, or how many members were signing up, people that are moving down to Sun City Center. And that's one of my big things with Sun City Center is keeping it updated. So, but
I think that is important.
Yes, it's very important. And currently I'm on the Sun City Center board. I was appointed by the board since June. So I've been on it for 5 months now, and I enjoy it. I mean, we get together, once a week, and I really enjoy the leadership there. So I think it's good for the community.
I think what I have enjoyed over the last couple of years, especially, is that people on the board have not been one issue people. They've been people there for the whole community rather than one issue. For instance, back we had a time period where somebody wanted to build a theater here, and a group ran for the board, but they didn't care about the board, just the theater. And it's really nice to see people like yourself and others that I'm interviewing who care about the entire community.
Exactly. And the one thing that I have is no agenda. So there's a lot of people that, just like what you just said, they come to the board with an agenda, and I don't have one. I'm here for the community. I'm not here for myself. So, and all through my life, I've been like that. So it's not going to change now.
One of the things that we see here in Sun City Center is that we no longer have a big builder that's out advertising for us. How do you see our continual bringing in of new people to Sun City Center?
Well, we have to really keep up with the buildings and the community, keep them updated. And I'm also on the Long Range Planning Committee. So that is one thing that I really enjoy doing. And we went to different communities in the area and looked at the different communities and saw that what they had and what we were lacking. So we were lacking, the building and the swimming pool. We need a resort style pool in here. So, and I think that will attract other people that are looking for that.
Well, it's interesting. I've talked to 2 people in the last 2 weeks who moved over here from Valencia Lakes. They went to Valencia Lakes, a wonderful community, beautiful, but they looked over here and saw the clubs, groups, and organizations and said, wait a minute, we're missing something. So they actually bought over here.
Yes, and being on the Calusa board, and since I'm the membership director, I get a lot of people from out of state. And right now I have a couple that I'm going to be taking out on Thursday, and they're from Colorado. They're looking to move to Sun City Center, but they want to
west.
Yeah. And they want to move to Valencia. Well, I talked to them and I said, why don't you look at Sun City Center? I said, it's a great community. We have over 120 clubs. I said, the people are great. I said, we have 3 swimming pools, a a gigantic gym, sawdust engineers. We have all kinds of stuff. So, I think they're going to check it out. So
they would be foolish not to.
Yes, yes. And I told them, when we were on the long range planning committee, we went to these other communities, and Valencia Lakes at the time was $399 a month to belong there. Now they're over 400. So, I mean, we're cheap. $300 a year per person is cheap. Exactly.
I've had a lot of people talk to me over the years, and every time somebody comes up and talks about building projects and things of that nature, the community expresses I don't want to go in debt. How do you feel about debt for new projects?
Well, we really don't have to go into debt right now. I mean, we have the capital fund fee, and it's at $2,100. I just heard in a meeting yesterday where we've sold over 50 houses have sold in the community just this month. So we're doing really good. Our average, I think, what they planned on was 35 a month. So October is really great right now. And the turnover for that is great. So I don't think we need to go into debt right now. Now, if we had a choice, if we wanted like a construction loan or something like that, we could do it, but we don't need to. We have the capital fund fee, and our money, if you multiply that out, times 12, just 35 houses. We have enough money to build the buildings we want and build the pool we want. It may take a little bit longer, but that's okay,
Sure.
So.
Well, then a whole lot of us don't buy green bananas anymore at the store. So I don't know how much time, but you're right, for generations to come. And the generation before us did a very nice job of setting things up for us. You've got about a minute. Is there one last thing that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yes, I've been on the board for the last 5 months, and I would like to continue to be part of it. And I'm asking for your vote. I would like to continue to work for the community for the next 3 years. And I do not have a personal agenda, so I'm there for you guys, not for anybody else.
My interview has been with Kim Rausch. Kim is a resident for how many years in Sun City?
9 years this month.
Running for the board of the Sun City Center Community Association. She's going to be a fine candidate along with the other 8 that are running. And Kim, thank you for being on the show with me.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
We'll talk to you on the next interview.
Okay, thank you.
As I said in the beginning, I'm Bill Hodges, and my guest for the Sun City Center Community Association Board Candidate interview is Ron Clark. Ron, happy to have you with us.
Well, thank you very much, Bill. I appreciate the opportunity for this interview.
I think it's exciting that we have so many people wanting to fill the slots we have. And you're running for what length of a slot?
The 1-year term.
The 1-year term. It's exciting. A lot of organizations and places, they can't find people to fill leadership slots, but we've got so many great people. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your background. How long have you been here in Sun City Center? And where did you come from to come here?
All righty. Thanks, Bill. I appreciate that. I live on the north side of town on Winterbrook Way with Nancy Clark, my high school sweetheart and wife of 51 years.
Whoa, congratulations to her.
Well, thank you, yes. And I'm actually a second generation Sun City Center resident. We started visiting my parents here in 1996 from the Boston area. And we fell in love with Sun City Center. And so I kept the house after my parents passed away and became a Florida resident after I retired in 2017.
You know, that's interesting because most of the candidates found their way here because of somebody who lived here.
Yeah.
Which I
exactly.
think is going to be fun because one of the things obviously is attracting people here. But we'll go into that in a little bit.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your business or educational background that you think will be important to the people here for you to sit on the board.
Okay, I have a Bachelor of Science industrial degree from Clarkson University located in Potsdam, New York. And I also have an MBA from the University of Texas, Arlington. And I joined General Electric out of college and worked for them for 25 years in 7 different locations and rose to the executive level in various marketing and sales positions. I also received a lot of management training and management experience along the way. I was their regional sales manager for New England, and I left GE to start a sales agency that sells electrical distribution equipment in the 6 New England states and upstate New York. I did that for 22 years before selling the business and retiring, and the company is still going strong.
You got 47 years of experience out there.
Yeah.
25 and 22, that makes 47 the best I can count.
Yeah, that's a good, accurate count there.
Now, the second business was your business. Did you say you started it?
Yeah, I founded it. I left GE on my own on a wing and a prayer and built it up into a very nice, sizable business. And visit their website, armclark.com. They're still going strong in business.
Actually, you know, I did the same thing when I turned 40. I decided to join the oldest profession in the world. I'm selling myself.
There you go. That's a good one. Now, looking at more local here, or more volunteer experience, in Sun City Center, I'm elected softball club director, and I'm in my second year as elected treasurer for the softball club. And I have 30 years of volunteer experience in Hopkinton, Massachusetts, which is just west of Boston, for a variety of elected and appointed positions. The more relevant positions included being elected to 2 5-year terms on the planning board and elected to 2 3-year terms on the board of selectmen. And I served as chairman and vice chairman for multiple years on both those boards. And you may be wondering, what do those boards do? Okay, well, on the planning board, we did site plan review and approval for residential and commercial development. And I think that experience will be very beneficial to the CA board as they implement the current facility expansion. Now, I don't know how much you know about government in New England, Bill, but
not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot. In Massachusetts, the county government performs many fewer functions than in Florida, and the towns are responsible for most of the local government functions. So the Board of Selectmen on which I serve, they are the chief elected officers in the town. There is no mayor. And we supervise all the non-school employees, police, fire, Department of Public Works, treasurer, town hall employees, everybody. And we were
like a city councilman.
Well, yeah, it was more than the council. A lot of times the council has a mayor, and this council had no mayor. We were it. We were the chief elected officers, and we had a responsibility for the entire town budget, which at that time, including the schools, was $60 million for approximately the 15,000 residents of Hopkinton, Massachusetts. So I have significant local government experience in making strategic decisions on policy, budgets, land use, action plans. And I'm detail oriented and consider myself well organized with good communication skills.
You know, I'm sure you've been sitting in on the board meetings and watching what's going on. What would you bring to the board? Are there some ideas you'd like to see, things you'd like to bring up?
Well, I think I can help the board make good decisions. Some of the things that I, have been involved with in the past, as far as planning, will help, with the new facility expansion. And I also like to see us, if we could, beautify the community even more than it is right now.
Yes, I think that's, especially the north end. I think that when you're coming into the north end, it really needs to be spruced up some. I would agree with you there. And speaking of bringing thinking into the north end, that's where our visitors and information center is. And what would you do to help bring people into Sun City Center from around the country? We don't have a builder anymore. Nobody's advertising us. What would you do? Well, my vision is that the CA board should focus on making sure that Sun City Center is attractive, fun, and an affordable place to live. We need to keep our facilities well maintained and modern, and we need to listen to our members about what they want from our facilities. I would also like to find ways to further beautify our community.
Now as far as fun, we need to make sure our clubs are healthy and supported by the CA board. Currently our CA dues are very affordable, and we need to make sure that they continue to provide excellent value to our members, and that we have activities and facilities that all members can participate in. And lastly, we have to market ourselves and get the word out about how great a community Sun City Center is. And we need to use all the advertising tools available, including social media.
Ron, we've got about 2 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
Is there some things I haven't asked you that are hot buttons with you that you'd really like to get across?
Well, I'd like to talk about the decisions that the board has made. And, I agree with their decisions on the facility expansion building and the new pool. I think we need to keep our facilities modern and move forward. I also like the idea of funding the projects out of the capital fund and being debt-free. That's a good strategic decision. As far as decisions that I might take an issue with, I think the 2020 $125 Kings Point fee decision probably did not turn out the way the CA board anticipated, and it should be revisited. I'm all for everybody paying their fair share, but it's had a really negative impact on our clubs. And our clubs are really the crown jewel of Sun City Center. Many people move here because of the clubs. And prior to 2020, there were approximately 1,900 Kings Point participants in various clubs in Sun City Center. And so far in 2020, only 136 Kings Point residents have paid the $125 fee. So the fees that we have collected is $17,000, which is 1/2% of the CA's $3.2 million budget. So in my view, it's not a good strategic decision to negatively impact so many Sun City Center clubs and cause such turmoil and division in the greater Sun City Center community for such a small impact on the CA finances. I would work to dial in and find a better approach for everyone paying their fair share.
Well, that's a good idea to have everybody pay their fair share. There's no question about that. I just have to tell you, Ron, I really appreciate your taking your time, sharing your expertise, and coming on the air with me. Ladies and gentlemen, today we've had the chance to listen to Mr. Ron Clark. He's a candidate for the board of directors of the Sun City Center Community Association. I thank you for being with me, and I thank you, Ron, for taking time and being part of the organization structure.
Good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hi, I am Bill Hodges, and this is another in the series of Sun City Center Community Association board candidate interviews. And with me today, I have Vince Lopez. Vince, it's great to see you, sir.
Bill, it's a wonderful, wonderful day seeing you today.
I know you've been through a lot, so we finally got together.
We finally have. But with God, with the grace of God, everything we get through it.
Vince's aunt just passed away. That's what we're talking about. Vince, how long have you been in Sun City Center?
This is going on in my 7th year. This coming May 7th will be our 7th year we're here.
And where did you come from before that?
Well, originally we was living in St. Petersburg, but I was born and raised in Ybor City.
Oh, really? So you're really a Tampa born and bred.
I'm a Tampa born and bred native, right off of 17th and 21st Street is our location.
Is that where your family is from too? Were they part of the early people?
Yes, indeed. My grandmother and grandfather was born and raised here in Ybor City. They lived all their life in the Ybor City area. My father comes from Cuba. My mother was born and raised here, and we lived and grew up in the West Tampa and East Tampa section of town.
What drew you to Sun City Center?
Well, what drew me, real simple. It was my wife.
Oh, all right.
It was my wife. We have a dear friend of ours who she has worked together for over 30 years. And Judy and Jack Stoop invited her to have lunch to come out to Sun City. And she came, and I had just had rotator cuff surgery. And she came back all excited. She said, I found us a beautiful location to go to, honey. And she said, Sun City. I said, you got to be crazy.
With all those old people.
Yeah.
That was my wife's reaction when we first talked about Sun City. You know, we came over to a church meeting once. It was nothing but gray hair. We thought, whoa, we live in Paula Beach.
Oh my. And I was, and she said, well, next week, if you feel better, I'm going to take you down there and we're going to peruse and look. Lo and behold, that her and Judy had already staked out at home.
And then it went into Yes Dear, right?
Yes, right away. And that's how we got here. And we love it. We love it. We've been in, we've brought in several of our friends in from Tampa and out of state, because she's from New Jersey, North area. And we've brought quite a few people in.
You know, part of all these candidate briefings is we kind of ask a little bit about background as far as your educational background or that work background that you think will be a benefit to the people of Sun City Center of you sitting on the board.
Well, the background that I bring is education, leadership. As you are familiar with and aware of, and I don't know if the rest of the audience know, I am the president of the Multicultural Club. I come with a bachelor's degree in education and secondary education also. So for 29 years, I taught from K through 12th grade, and I love it. I believe that youth is something of a passion to me, and they are the future. You set the ground in which they're going to go forth. So with that, I say I bring that portion to leadership, because in anything you have to have some kind of leadership role, basically, and also by being a president of the community association and homeowners association, I should say, in St. Petersburg. I bring the experience that I think I could assist this established community at this point.
You know, teaching is a very important occupation. I know there's one particular teacher that made a big difference in my life.
Yes.
Now tell me a little bit about your activities that you've had here in Sun City Center since you've been here. I know you've got the multicultural multicultural club got going.
Yes, I have. Also, I'm vice president of the Men's for Health. At this present time, this coming year, I will be the president of elect for the Men's Club. I've been able to have the lovely task of putting on a health fair that we had over 2,500 people to show up in 2019 with great results at the end. People enjoy it, people looking forward to it. You know, every other year we would do it. But unfortunately this year with COVID, we haven't been able to meet that goal. But we provided great help, it's great information. Health providers came into our community. And there was a lot of dismay. People said that it couldn't happen. But again,
said a bumblebee can't fly either, right?
Yes, indeed. So I said, you know, we can get this done. And I had great help with Debbie Canine, as you are very familiar with her. We got together and we put on a great community health fair for the city of Sun City.
Debbie is a sweetheart. She is really a hard worker.
Yes, I kid her all the way around. She's my second wife, so she tells me where to go to.
That's the wife's job, is to tell you where to go.
Exactly.
Tell me about what you see with the board. Is there any interesting things that you would like to see brought up on the board?
Well, there's several issues that I know is brewing at this prior moment that I just think that, you know, fresh eyes always needs to be, different opinions needs to come in. and also inclusion. I firmly believe that everyone, all segment of, of, of human being has to be part of it, not just one particular segment of people. You know, in order to, and when you have a large community like this, like we have here, a little bit over 12,000 individuals, you have 12,000 individual ideas.
Oh, yes. And they're all chiefs. That's the problem with this town, is everybody's been a chief somewhere else.
Exactly. So you have to listen. You have to be very cognizant of listening and be able to put things together that will meet the medium and will be sufficient enough for everyone to be to buy into it.
You know, one of the things that I think is important, and maybe you'll agree, is that we don't have a big builder anymore that's advertising Sun City Center all over the nation. How do you think that we will continue getting the input of people like yourself and others who are intelligent and able to move into a community and be part of this?
Well, I think we have some great resources right here that we can take advantage of. We have great realtors. We really need to cultivate all the realtors in and have a conversation with them to as when they go out and advertise a home or for sale and all that, that they are in the same pattern of our theories that we are putting out there, our philosophy, our mission statement, put it that way. And then we can also develop, because again, we don't have too much land left, if any, okay? So, you know, big builders, the developers, they want to buy, you know, a lot of lots, squares, that acreage that will help them to add more and more profit. But unfortunately, we are at our cap.
We're built out, right?
Yeah, and we're not going to attract those big builders like LG or Mentos again to come in here, but we can also keep that relationship. I think we can keep relationship. If you have good communication with people, you can establish a great relationship with people. And,
well, you know, interestingly enough, one of the things that you just brought up a few minutes ago was you came here because your wife has a friend here, or you folks had a friend here who brought you over. So maybe that's what we need to do in order to be able to get people in here, is one-on-one from the folks already living here.
Yes, and I think that is happening right now, because I know several of my friends, we are actually talking about those of us who have friends up north, and to come on down. Because again, living expenses here is reasonable. We have quite a few amenities that I think is great marketable, because I'm telling you, versus where I come from in St. Petersburg versus here, I mean, we just double our amenities what we had. So I think that's very much attractive to an outsider to come in and look at it. And we, you know, I really feel the association needs to spend a little bit of money to boast themselves a little bit.
That's not a bad idea, certainly.
To boast themselves.
What do you see as the long-range view of the city?
Well, it goes into a change, as you are totally aware of. You have, I would say, 3 age groups that right now we are dealing with, and most foremost, we are going to, in the next year or year after next, we are definitely going to start dealing with the 55 and unders who are retiring. And after this COVID, we're going to start seeing more and more of those who are going to give us an eye. And I think we need to be prepared to have something there for them to offer them. Okay.
Vince, we're down to about the last minute or so. Have you got something you'd like to say that I haven't covered before?
Well, I just think that folks really, besides the multicultural and the men's club, they really don't know who I am. But you know, what you see is what you get. And you know, you and I have had several deep conversations, even gone as far as talk about family. So I like to listen to people and, you know, think outside the box. I think we need to start thinking outside the box to make things better for the entire community. Because inclusiveness is one thing, but we can make this all happen if we just think outside the box and don't get in the box, stay in the square.
Vince, I so appreciate you coming on the air with me today. I'm Bill Hodges, and this has been another of our Sun City Center Community Association board candidate interviews. This is Vince Lopez, who is running for a 3-year position on the board. Vince, thank you so much for being with us.
Bill, thank you very much for having me, and I want to thank the audience for being able to have me on board, and hopefully they'll get out there and vote, and I can earn their vote for a candidate of 3 years and here at the association. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Take care, Bill.